Hello, and welcome back to Memorize the Bible. This is going to be Genesis, chapter 1, day 5, the first part. Um, it's Sunday, April 12th at 1 p.m. Okay, it starts off, then God said, "Let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures." Now I want you to imagine God standing on the earth, looking at the waters, and little rays of sound waves coming out of his mouth and hitting the waters and them turning into uh, all kinds of different creatures, like maybe like a fish and a octopus and a leviathan maybe, and then let birds fly above the earth across the face of the heavens. Now I want you to um, imagine God looking up at the sky and little sound waves coming out of his mouth and them turning into birds and them and then turning into birds and sitting still in the air, and then all of a sudden the birds taking off and flying above across the face of a rock with a little cloud around it, behind it, to signify heaven. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded. So now I want you to imagine this white-robed figure, God, turning his head back towards the sea and seeing the sea creatures again and every living thing that moves. And imagine, like, with which the waters abounded. I want you to imagine those sea creatures moving and then bounding up out of the water according to their kind. Now I want you to see him patting one of those creatures that rose up out of the water, stilling it in midair and patting it according to their kind, because he's being kind to it, and every winged bird according to its kind. And imagine him reaching up into the sky as a bird flies by and stills in the air, and him patting it. And God saw that it was good. And then after he pats the fish and the bird, nodding and smiling, because while he looks at the bird and then the fish, because it's good. Now, after the white robe figure nods, I want you to imagine God raising his hands and little rays of light as a blessing, going touching a touching a bird and a fish, and having them all of a sudden multiply in the air, like bunches of them being there. And God bless and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply in the earth. So now I want you to imagine him touching those sea creatures and or raising his hands and blessing those sea creatures with rays of light touching them, and then all of a sudden filling up the whole sea that you can imagine before you, and then raising his hands to the birds and the birds all of a sudden, and little rays of light going out to the birds, and the birds all of a sudden becoming many birds on the earth. So the evening and morning were the fifth day. So now I want you to imagine God holding up his hand, one hand, palm open, fingers spread. And That'll do it for part 1 of day 5.